Imagine you're owed a $300,000 tax refund. You filed everything correctly, the math is right, and the IRS even processed part of your paperwork. And then, out of nowhere, they deny it. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your accountant mailed a letter to the wrong building. This is a true story from my law practice, and it's one of the clearest examples I've seen of how a seemingly tiny clerical mistake can nearly cost someone a six-figure refund, and also what it actually takes to fix it. So, my client, who I'm going to call Harry, had a net operating loss he was entitled to claim on his taxes. And a net operating loss is basically a loss that can be carried back to a prior tax year to generate a refund. In this case, it was substantial. Harry's CPA filed an amended return to claim it. Problem 1, the CPA accidentally applied the loss to the wrong tax year. So the CPA filed a second corrected amended return to fix that. And that's no problem, and it should have been the end of it. But the IRS never processed the corrected return. At first, we just assumed it was pandemic era backlog. This was back during the height of COVID, and the IRS was buried in paper, and plenty of legitimate filings got stuck in limbo or even just lost or misprocessed by the IRS. So we called the IRS and did what they told us to do. We resubmitted the corrected amended return with proof of the original filing date. But that's when I found the real problem. When reviewing everything, I discovered Harry's CPA had mailed the amended returns to the wrong IRS address entirely. And here's one part of tax law a lot of people don't know. A return is only considered filed on time if it's sent to the correct address. So when Harry's CPA resubmitted it, or when we resubmitted it for, I guess now the third time, it's the resubmission of the second corrected return, the IRS denied it, citing late filing. So just like that, a $300,000 refund was at risk of disappearing, not because the loss wasn't real, but because of where the envelope was mailed. So here's the strategy I used that turned it around. Instead of trying to hide or downplay the CPA's mistake, I actually led with it. I filed a formal appeal and openly acknowledged that, hey, yes, the CPA sent the claim to the wrong address, but I argued that Harry shouldn't be penalized for his accountant's error. And more importantly, I was also able to point to something else the IRS had itself done. The IRS had already processed the original amended return, even though it went to the same wrong address. That was proof that the IRS actually had received it, address mix-up notwithstanding, and still processed it like it was properly filed. So in other words, I was arguing that you can't claim something never arrived when your own system shows you opened it and processed it originally. So a few months after filing my formal protest, Harry got the full refund check in the mail. No additional hearings needed, no further arguments. The appeal worked the first time because the case was built on facts that the IRS couldn't dispute. So there are a few takeaways here, and they matter whether you're dealing with $3,000, $300,000, or $300 million. First, mistakes happen even with good tax professionals. The CPA wasn't incompetent. He caught his own error and tried to fix it, but a wrong address is the kind of small detail that can derail an otherwise solid case. Second, when the IRS denies something on a technicality, that's not always the end of the story. The administrative appeals process exists specifically for situations like this, where the substance of your position is right, but something procedural got in the way. So don't assume a denial is final. Often it's just the first answer and not the last word. And third and final, and it's also worth knowing, even though it didn't come up in this situation, if the administrative process doesn't work, you can almost always take a dispute like this to court. You've got options like tax court, federal district court, and the Court of Federal Claims are all options available in some cases. But court is generally a last resort. It often takes far more time and money to go to court than working things out administratively. And most cases never need to go there. In Harry's case, we never had to get anywhere close to that point because the appeal succeeded on its own. But it's worth knowing that option exists if the administrative route hits a wall. So if you're sitting on an amended return or other filing that's stuck, denied, or just disappeared into IRS processing limbo, don't assume it's a dead end. These things are fixable more often than people think. You just need the right argument and the paper trail to back it up. So if you enjoyed this video or it helped, please subscribe and comment for more real stories from inside IRS disputes. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.